I'm one of the co-owners of CrossFit Kampongs. It's a CrossFit box in Singapore. I'm also a national weightlifter in the Singapore national weightlifting team. I think especially women may be intimidated by weights. Don't be scared. Just give it a try. I started out being afraid of weights. I was like, oh no, the barbell looks super heavy. I pushed on. I think what's important is just being very consistent and trying bit by bit to get better every single day. When people think of the word healthy food, it shouldn't be an anomaly. In fact, it should be a norm, in fact. I think people have the common misconception that healthy food doesn't taste as good. It may not be compromised after all. It can still be a balance between having healthy food as well as it being tasty.
Hi, I'm Amy and this is What's on Your Plate by The Meat Club. Each week, we dive into real conversations about what we eat, why it matters, and how to build a better plate one bite at a time. If you enjoy the show, hit like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on Instagram at The Meat Club SG. Let's dive into the episode. Today, we welcome Shuqi. Hi, Shuqi. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. I understand that you just had a nice short walk to join us. Wonderful. Yeah. Tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Yes, so I'm Shuqi. I'm one of the co-owners of CrossFit Kampongs. It's a CrossFit box in Singapore. I like to think of it as I have a side quest. So I'm also a national weightlifter in the Singapore national weightlifting team.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
You.
How much weight can you hold or lift, I should say?
My total, so they call it the total, so the clean and jerk and the snatch total is around 120 plus.
Oh my gosh, you really are small but mighty. That's incredible. That's amazing.
Super fun. Yeah.
And did you know that we actually have something in common?
No.
I was a lawyer in a former life as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay,
so I practiced for several years, mainly in Australia. What was your journey? How long did you practice law for?
Actually, I did not practice law. So I passed the bar examination. And right before I kind of started practice, I told myself that, hey, I wanted to give myself a couple of years just to give this industry a try. And so that was when I kind of stepped into the fitness industry and tried out this whole CrossFit and opening the gym thing.
Fantastic. Yeah. So was sport like always part of your lifestyle? Like what brought you to open a gym and take this path in your life?
I've always been fairly active and my entire family as well. In fact, my parents were the ones who brought me into kind of working out and doing CrossFit. Yeah. So from young, I was in dance, I was in gymnastics, and I got into CrossFit around 5 to 6 years ago.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah. So going back then, what got you into law or what made you think that that may have been your passion?
Yeah. I wouldn't say it was a passion. I always thought that learning law and kind of practicing it is super different. So I did really enjoy the learning process and all the intricacies of it. But practicing is a whole different ball game. And so that was a part that I didn't really like. I preferred more flexibility in my schedule. I preferred having more time to myself, especially since I wanted to do a little bit more fitness on the side as well. So I preferred to have a little bit more time for that for myself. So I didn't think that being a lawyer would be able to give me enough time for that.
Fantastic. And you mentioned your parents played quite a role in getting you to open your gym. I saw recently that your dad competed with you in the High Rocks.
Yeah, we did the High Rocks together.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think parents, my parents in particular, are super good role models for me. So not only in terms of our working out, even like in terms of diet, daily habits. So these are things that it kind of influenced me as well. So since they have been super active, even when I was young, I was kind of taught to also kind of be active along with them.
That's if I do say so, is quite unusual, I feel, because Australians, we tend to get up when the birds sing, which in Queensland in summer is often 4 a.m. So you're almost the anomaly if you don't get up and exercise. But, being on the equator, the sun doesn't get up until 7. Yeah. So things do tend to start a little bit later. So apart from your parents, was there anything else that was driving you, or do you think it was having them as almost like a mentor with your exercise and the transition to CrossFit?
I think it was primarily them who started me off. And from then, once I started the habit of kind of going to the gym, having a very somewhat a healthy lifestyle and picking skills up along the way, that naturally picked up and kept the ball rolling already.
I love that.
Yeah.
And in terms of your influence at home, what was a typical meal around the dining table in your family? If you mentioned before that you've, had the benefit of a really healthy lifestyle, what did that involve?
I think from young, they made sure that I had breakfast. So before I left house, I needed to have breakfast before I went to school or anything. So that's an important part for me, having a rather balanced breakfast. We like to cook our meals over the weekends as well. If I can, on weekdays, I'll come home for dinner. But if not, weekends are definitely home-cooked meals. And I think having the luxury to kind of cook meals at home, that gives us a lot of freedom to kind of decide what we want to put on our plates as well.
I love that.
Yeah.
Why was breakfast such a big point? Because, for me, breakfast is my favorite part of the day. Was it unusual among your school friends to have breakfast before you went to school?
I think it might be just because usually people are always rushing for time, right? Okay. But I do think breakfast itself sets the day right. It kind of fills up your day, and the moment the day is set right, nothing could go wrong. So at least something is right at the start of the day. Yeah, so I do think that's important. And even till now, I try to keep it there. So even if I have to leave house at 6 or something, I still kind of just quickly put up a breakfast together.
And what might that look like?
Yeah. It can be just a very simple sandwich, slap in the meat in between and some sandwich. Yeah, I think that's enough to kind of keep me going for at least a couple more hours until I finish my lunch, my morning classes.
Yeah, well, I mean, being active and on your feet and having clients back to back, I imagine that you're often energy deprived. You mentioned as well that you do a lot of food preparation. What does that look like for you?
I think especially because I'm competing a lot. So my diet kind of has to fuel what I do. So I feel that on certain days, if I don't eat enough protein, for instance, I do feel like the energy drops. So I feel somewhat a little bit weaker. Yeah. So in that sense, I have to be kind of a bit more conscious of what I eat. I try to meal prep a little bit over the weekend just to kind of ensure that I plan ahead for the week, and I kind of know there are a couple of meals along the week that I have to take, and just to keep my protein intake a little bit higher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you say that you have more protein than your average, female that might be have a more sedentary lifestyle?
Yeah, I do. Definitely. I don't count my calories specifically, but I do kind of keep in mind and be conscious about how much, at least the macros I'm taking. I think for protein intake in particular, I take around 100 grams of protein every day. So typically it's recommended if you're active, you should take the same amount as your own body weight in pounds.
Okay.
So roughly around in pounds.
Okay.
Yeah. So
you're saying 100 grams for how many pounds?
For like 100 pounds if you weigh 100 pounds.
Okay.
So roughly a 1:1 ratio if you're fairly active.
Okay.
Yeah. So I try to keep around there, which I think that people around me are definitely not hitting. So even as when they're going out for normal meal, it's uncommon for a normal meal to have like more than 30 or 40 grams of protein. And if you do the math, technically each meal has to have around 30 or 40 grams of protein. Yeah, so I think it's a bit hard for people to be able to sustain that. And you have to be extra cautious and conscious of what you're putting into your body as well.
So how do you keep up with that? Like what is on your plate, so to speak, for breakfast, lunch and dinner to try and make sure you're hitting that volume?
Yep. So I try to ensure that each meal kind of has some amount of protein. So for instance, each meal kind of at least has some meat in it to keep it balanced with some carbs and fiber and everything as well. But definitely some meat. I'm a meat lover.
Okay.
Yes. So I do need a meat. And if I really need to, I can turn to my protein supplements as well.
Amazing. Yeah. Where would you find, like if you're not preparing a meal at home, where would we find you in terms of, are you going to the supermarket, to a wet market? Do you shop online? What's your go-to in terms of buying produce for you and the family?
I think when it comes to buying produce, I think it depends on convenience as well. I think Singaporeans love the accessibility and convenience. So typically I like to buy online if possible. If I'm rushing for time, it can be delivery for frozen meat. If I have the time, I will try to go grocery shopping, even with my family, just so we can pick out and decide what we want. I think that kind of sets us on the same page and lets us kind of plan, hey, what we want to eat, steak on Saturday night or something. So at least we plan together in a way that's kind of like a form of family bonding as well.
I like that. You mentioned convenience. What are some of the, I guess, kind of traps that we can also easily get ourselves wrapped into when it comes to buying convenience foods? And why might you try and avoid something overly convenient because of what is potentially in the ingredients itself?
I think when it comes to convenience, the first thing people think is instant food and all the instant noodles, everything. That certainly is very convenient and very accessible. Just pop into a microwave and you can get it, right? But it does set you down to the wrong path because it does have lots of MSG, lots of things that you don't know, the processed food. So in the long run, it's actually not amazing for your health. And I read somewhere that food itself can be poison and it can be medicine at the very same time. And so I think that that line kind of makes me a bit more conscious about what I'm putting into my body. It's not immediate. I won't get poisoned in a day, but in the long term, it really does set the difference. And I think I can observe that even from my parents as well, because they have been eating well and they are super active now. They are 65, 66.
Yeah.
I hope they don't see this. Yeah, but they are like super, like 65, 66. And my dad just did a high rocks with me.
That's
amazing. And the
amazing.
fact that he's able to be so active is definitely attributed to his diet as well.
That's amazing. I love that saying, as food as medicine. I think it's such an important point to be making, especially to a generation that has been bombarded with marketing messaging saying that convenience is better when, going back to a whole food environment is probably the better way to go. Why do you, or what would you say to anyone that's going to, a local convenience option? How would you try to convince them to, potentially look at what it is that they're choosing and educate them on the benefits of home cooking?
I think people have the common misconception that healthy food doesn't taste as good. But I do think that taste can, it may not be compromised after all. It can still be a balance between having healthy food as well as it being tasty. So that's one common misconception that people definitely should try to do away with. I typically like to adopt an 80-20 kind of diet thing. So 80% of the time, I try to eat cleaner, healthier a little bit. But 20% of the time, I will let loose a little bit just to have some sort of balance in my diet. And I think that's important because it's never all or nothing. And that's what people should kind of know. Once they go into all or nothing, it's just going to make them super miserable.
Definitely.
In the diet. So yeah, just being sustainable, having a very balanced diet.
I love the idea of bringing balance, because otherwise you're constantly worrying about, what's on your plate. You mentioned before food preparation and home cooking being bland. And I think I was very fortunate to live in a home growing up where we cooked most of our meals. In fact, I would say 99% of them. We did go out, but it wasn't as often. But something that my mum always did was have condiments and sauces that we would also prepare at home, which I've continued to incorporate into our day now. And so, whether or not it's making a pesto or a hummus or a tahini, these are all things that add like a flavor bomb to any cooking. What do you think grocery habits, what small changes could people make, starting today around what choices they're making? If there was one piece of kind of advice, I guess, what would that be?
I think we just to start small and just make simple swaps. It can be something as simple as going for a slightly healthier option of bread, a slightly healthier option of rice, for instance, just to make a small swap. Or even as like sauces, as you said, maybe not going for the super high caloric sauces, but making your own sauces or going for the simpler kind, just adding a dash of all the garlic a little bit. So things that you can kind of change, but it will make a whole world of effect on the grand scheme of things as well.
Definitely. And if either one of your parents or both of your parents were sitting with you right now, would you think they would have a different answer?
No, I think my mom loves to cook her own food. So even like daily, even when I don't go back for dinner, she will still kind of cook a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's typically always kind of like steamed fish or something that's baked. So it's never really deep fried just because she's super cautious about it. Yeah.
When it comes to your weightlifting, so you're a national champion for Singapore. Congratulations again, by the way. What does that look like being part of the team? What is some of the things that Sports Singapore educate you and the other team members on the importance of, preparation, in competition eating, recovery? Like, is that a big part of the program that you go through?
I think it depends on the individual itself. Personally, I'm on the lighter weight class.
Okay.
So for each competition, I do have to kind of cut weight a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's where I kind of have to watch my weight, watch my own diet. So individually, I will have to be more conscious of it on my own. And I do that by kind of counting my calories a little bit more and meal prepping my food a little bit more just so I know exactly what goes into my food. Yeah, and I think as an athlete, it's not only about doing the weights and everything. It's really about putting food into your body that fuels me to be able to do more in the next day. So there's no point in me pushing a lot. But if I'm not fueling well, then the training for the week goes to waste as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the idea of fueling well and setting yourself up for success in a way. Why did you decide to compete in the first instance? What was the driver behind it?
I think it was something that kind of intrigued me when I first started CrossFit. So the idea of whole weightlifting itself and the technicality of it, just because it's something that is so technique focused. And I didn't think that I will be able to kind of surpass my goals and everything. And I eventually did. I was like, oh, actually, it's really possible, even if I'm small or anything. So there are little goals that I set for myself. And each time I kind of hit them, it makes me want to do a little bit more. So in that sense, I like that it kind of challenges me a lot.
Did you have any, speaking of challenges, did you have any?
Not that much. I think I get super nervous when I go overseas to compete just because it's a super different crowd. I am going to India in August to compete for the Commonwealth Championships.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a big one coming up soon.
It's huge.
Yeah, so that's something that I'm looking forward to. But at the same time, there's these expectations, right, which I'm afraid that I won't be able to meet. But as long as I put in the work, fingers crossed, we'll be able to do it.
Yeah. How do you calm yourself in those moments? Do you have any techniques that you use to try and like get yourself in the zone before you go up onto the stage and lift these heavy weights?
I just tell myself that all the work has been put in. So all I have to do is really just go out and put on a good show. Yeah, literally just put on a good show. Yes.
It's interesting because I say the same thing to my kids. I've got a 5 and a 7-year-old. Not to say that they're competing in weights, but when they do get nervous, I always encourage them to consider, like, everyone that is watching you wants to see you succeed.
Yeah.
No one wants you to feel the nerves that are inevitably inside you at that moment in time. So if you can flip the mentality from nervous energy being a drain on your body to nervous energy being a positive impact and giving you more energy, that's my little hack.
Yeah,
I don't know how much that would help. But what would you say to someone that's, looking to enter the fitness community, the weightlifting arena? What advice would you give them to kind of, enter the sport or a similar sport for that nature?
I think especially women may be intimidated by weights, but don't be scared. I mean, just give it a try. I started out being afraid of weights. I was like, oh no, the barbell looks super heavy. And the barbell was heavy. It was like 15 kg. It was super heavy to me 5 years ago. But I pushed on. So I think what's important is just being very consistent and trying bit by bit to get better every single day. And once you kind of form the habit of going to the gym and consistently trying and getting the habit in, I think that's what gets you going and keeps you going up till now.
Consistency, I love as well. But you're right. I think for a lot of us, it's this, fear of weights, fear of bulking up, which is very hard to do. I mean, you are so petite, you wouldn't know. But what is it like? You've built, no doubt, a wonderful community within your gym. And before I actually ask the next question, I saw on your page a relatively older demographic doing some exercises. I think they were hopping or jumping for stability, which I absolutely loved. So do you do programs that are geared towards different age categories?
Yeah, so I'm actually going into the seniors side of things. So just because Singapore, with the aging population, there is an urgent need to kind of educate the seniors on the importance of exercising, eating well, etc. So for them, it can be something very simple as climbing up the stairs.
Yeah.
That can be a form of exercise as well, just because they don't do it as often. But it is functional enough, and they need to kind of get that functional independence, I would call it, so that they can move around
for sure
easily. Yeah, so that's something, and that's an area that I'm trying to go into. Just trying to go to them and trying to get them to move a lot more and not be sedentary. I think there are quite a number of movements in Singapore that are trying to get the older population to do the same, which I think is super nice as well.
Do you think your parents are somewhat of an anomaly in that case? They're unusual in the amount of exercise that they've done compared to, say, their peers and the wider Singapore community of their age?
I think they are. They are super active as compared to their peers of their age. And honestly, I think that is attributed to their consistency. So it's back to consistency, right? Just because they have been doing it for a number of years. And so they just go to the gym. I think they go to the gym more than me. I think they go like 5 or 6 times a week just to clock in that hour of running or something. Yeah, my dad is even doing a competition in KL or something, a fitness competition. It's crazy. So I think it's just building that consistency And once you have that habit, you will consistently go.
Yeah.
And I do teach a couple of seniors as well in other studios. And once they have formed the habit of every Tuesday evening, they will see me. And then once they miss one Tuesday, they kind of feel out of place already. Yeah, so once they have built the consistency and they typically feel a lot stronger after a couple of months, they kind of enjoy that journey as well.
I love that because, we all take for granted our bodies. At whatever stage of life we're at, we always wish that we were a version of our younger self.
Yeah.
My grandmother's 97, and I know that one of her biggest risk factors is actually in the event of falling down.
Yeah.
It's never something that would cross my mind. But if we do have that consistency to maintain bone density and muscle strength to be able to get back off the ground, and in her case, and like many other elders, if they're living alone, it's a huge risk if they can't get, someone to help them.
Yeah.
You talked about building a community, and I've had my own observations around, the Singapore sporting community. I've been here for the benefit of 12 years now, and I have seen a massive increase in sports collaborations, partnerships, and a community-driven approach, particularly to sport.
Yeah.
Have you observed the same in your gyms?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think people nowadays don't go to the gym just to work out. You can work out anywhere, and there's so many gyms in Singapore. You can work out in any gym. And typically, to be honest, once you commit to a single program in a gym, you will probably see progress as long as you commit to it, right? But people stay because of the community and the people around. So I think that's what we've been trying to build in the gym as well, trying to find and group like-minded people together. And as long as they kind of stay together, they work out together. And in fact, even after class, they will go out for meals together or even just stay together just to chat a little bit. I think that's what makes a community a very special one for us.
Yeah. So what type of initiatives would you have introduced? You mentioned grouping like-minded people together. Is that like, you guys are going on a run, a community run? What type of initiatives have you put in place?
I think we like to expose them to different things. So for example, we host weightlifting meets, we hold like strongman workshops, kind of different things to expose them to all sorts of different skills. We try to go out together as a gym for, like you said, runs, or even to the beach, just to chill a little bit. We have organized outdoor barbecues, or like just a buffet style kind of get-togethers, just for people to kind of mingle a little bit more. And once these connections kind of form, I think people have forged friendships, and I think people nowadays find it hard to kind of forge friendships outside of work just because they don't have time. So I think the gym is definitely a place where there is potential to kind of build these connections.
I love the idea of people getting together other than, going to a club, which is also fun and serves a purpose. But I really see that transition happening here because it's something that, growing up in Australia, you're always in a group environment with like-minded people because you're out doing exercise or, like you said, you're at the beach. And it's a great way to meet other people. What other, pieces of advice do you have for people around, diet? If they come to the gym, are you encouraging them to kind of look at what's on their plate, so to speak?
So I think when people come to a gym, normally they typically want to feel a bit better about their own body as well. So it comes in two pieces, right? And exercise is kind of like a smaller piece of the puzzle, and diet is actually the main bulk of it. So we try to encourage people to have a bit more of a balanced diet. Definitely not something that is super strict, not chicken breast and broccoli every single day. But we kind of practice a little bit more of intuitive dieting where you eat what you need but you're also conscious of what you're putting into your body. So you decide what you need to eat to fuel yourself. So if today you feel, hey, I'm super lethargic, maybe I need to up my carbs or something. Go ahead, but it needs to be kind of on a nice balance. Yeah, so we do try to work with supplement partners, for instance, just to give them an option. For instance, if you need like protein supplements, at least they have an option to go towards too. We try to hold nutrition workshops as well. Yeah, just to kind of educate them on what they should be eating. Not forcing them to do anything, but it's just purely on an education basis. Yeah.
What role do you think that supplements have in, an industry around CrossFit and weightlifting? If you can't reach your protein goals through traditional food, you would, what would you look for specifically in a supplement form?
Yeah, so it says supplement, right? So it shouldn't entirely take over your diet, definitely. So it should supplement you if you do feel that you are lacking something. So I think protein is one of the main ones that's super important, especially in such high intensity workouts, right? Creatine can be one of them just because it helps in muscle building. Other supplements, it depends on what the person needs. For instance, if the person is slightly older and needs a bit more of joint support, joint health, then maybe I'll recommend things like calcium, or even before you go to calcium, maybe try to up it by your normal whole food diet as well.
As a creator yourself, what role do you feel you have in, influencing the network that you have immediately around you, be it in the gym or be it on online presence? What role do you think that you have in, educating people around the importance of whole foods, 80-20 diet, meal preparation?
Yeah, I try to make sure that the image that I kind of portray is something that is not super strict on my diet, because I don't want people to kind of stick to like a super strict diet and feel so constrained. But I do want them to take charge of their own diet and be conscious of what they eat. So even when it comes to my members, if they ask me anything, or if they are going out to eat, for instance, and I ask them what they're eating, maybe I'll try to recommend them to maybe go for healthier swaps, for instance. Or if I know that their goal is fat loss or maybe to gain muscles, that kind, I can give in my recommendations to kind of maybe add some lean meat to their diet. So at least that kind of helps them and brings them closer towards their goal. I know that there are lots of content on social media that kind of have recommends like healthy food and everything. I do think that most of them are pretty useful, but of course take everything with a pinch of salt, because there's so much overwhelming content these days. And I think people, if they consume all of this, they will get overwhelmed, and it's literally like you cannot eat every single thing in the supermarket. That is not true. As long as it's pretty balanced and you kind of have the 80-20 mindset, I think you're fine.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think as we sit here, you and I are probably in a position of slightly more power, because we are educated ourselves and have, I guess, a mindset approach to what it is that we want to do. And, we won't be so heavily influenced like a younger generation might be. So how do they avoid some of those like pitfalls and traps around, chasing after a diet that is impossible to keep up with? If you were to talk to someone of that generation, what would you say?
I think that as long as they find something that is sustainable, so it's not a diet that only lasts you for a month and then you just kind of rebound back. So as long as you find that, hey, this diet can be sustained throughout 6 months or even more than a year, then I think that's something that is doable. So as long as they know, hey, I can be very consistent with it, it doesn't really impact my daily life too much until it makes me super lethargic. And in fact, it should fuel me even better. And I should feel even more energized just because I'm putting in these good food into my own body. So I think once they kind of know how these food impact how they feel day by day, that's something, the changes they can take, then I think they're good to go.
I love that. If you were to be sitting here with me again in 5 or say 10 years even, how would you like to see the, I guess, landscape for food and nutrition to have changed between where we sit now and then? I know that's a loaded question, by the way.
Well, I do hope that Singaporeans they do not need to, just take out all the hawker food out of their diet, but they do need to kind of be more intentional with what they eat. So as long there's an intention behind their own diet, it can be, then if let's say they are looking to bulk, then sure, go for the slightly higher carbs, but maybe eat a little bit cleaner. So as long as you have the right intentions, I think that is something that is better. I do hope that people can turn to prepping their meals a bit more often. I know luxury of time is not something that is available to everyone, but the moment you are able to kind of meal prep and you know what goes into your food, that kind of makes you a bit more conscious of what's outside as well. And you kind of know, actually, hey, the Hokkien mee is not this is not healthy at all. So once you're kind of able to cultivate that habit, which doesn't really take that long, in fact. Yeah, so once you get a hang of it, I think that's a habit that can be done for many other Singaporeans as well. Yeah.
You mentioned the word before, clean. So adapting like a cleaner approach to food. What are some of the things that you would say would encourage a clean approach to, dining out? So, or things, red flags to look for. What would clean mean to you in 5-10 years' time?
It doesn't have to be super extreme, but it can be just cutting down on like things like sauces, just asking for, hey, less sauce on that meat, or like no sauce, or like something that is lesser salt. So just going for that small swaps. But if you think about it, if you do it for every single meal for 5 to 10 years, that's going to be a lot of salt across that 5 or 10 years. And it will make a lot of difference.
Yeah. We've talked about clean. What's the opposite of that for you in terms of a cheat meal? If there is such a thing for you, what would that entail?
It would entail maybe fast food, for instance, like fried chicken. But it doesn't mean that I don't consume them at all. I can and I do indulge maybe like once a month or something. So I think it's still possible to indulge in them, so you don't have to take it out of your diet entirely. Like I said, food is not all or nothing. There is a fine balance to kind of manage, which I think Singaporeans can learn better as well. I think that when people think of the word healthy food, it shouldn't be an anomaly. In fact, it should be a norm, in fact. And it shouldn't be something that, it's so uncommon. Everyone should kind of embrace it. It may not be like super healthy, but as long as you're taking like small steps to make it a little bit cleaner and it fuels you more, I think that's a good step to take.
It's amazing because as you take those small steps.
Yeah, and it adds up. Yeah.
It adds up. Yeah. It really does. And I think having that connection between your physical energy, your mental clarity. I've just eaten one meal and I'm not feeling great. If I change it and I'm feeling amazing, like that's almost overnight. Yeah. So clean eating, whole food diet. Thank you so much for joining today. I feel like we could keep on going forever. Before we do close, if you were to get a Meat Club delivery, what 3 items would be in your bag?
I would like it to be more balanced. So I'll get a meat bundle. I will also get some vegetables. And I love strawberries. So I'll get strawberries as well.
Fantastic.
Yes. So these three just have a very nice balance.
Wonderful. And how do listeners find you? If they want to come down to the gym, if they want to even see you compete, if that's possible, how do they go about finding you?
You can find me at CrossFit Kampong. So that's for my gym. We're at Potong Pasir. You can find me on Instagram as well, Locket and Key. Yes, I compete for the national team. And actually, I'm competing tomorrow. Yeah, we have a Southeast. It's in Singapore.
Okay.
So it's called the Southeast Asian Championships. It's right tomorrow. So that's something to be excited about.
That's very exciting. Thank you so much for being here a day out from competition. What's your meal this evening in preparation for the event?
Good question. I haven't planned. I need to weigh myself first.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And on the morning of, is there like a secret that you would, secret to success, so to speak?
I like to fuel myself up with bananas.
Okay.
I love bananas, and I think it does give me that carbs that I need and all the potassium that I need. It's for my workout.
Oh my gosh, well, all the best. We'll be cheering for you, and good luck for all the other competitions that you have.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to What's on Your Plate. If you enjoyed today's episode, give us a like, leave a comment, and subscribe to our YouTube for more content like this. And if you're ready to fill your plate with clean, quality produce, please check out themeatclub.com.sg. We deliver straight to your door so you can eat well every day. See you on the next episode.